Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, bearing witness that none has the right to be worshipped besides Him. I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His final messenger. I ask Allah to send His peace and blessing upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the prophets and messengers that came before him, his family and companions that served alongside him, and those who followed in his blessed path until the day of judgment. I ask Allah to make us among his followers. I pray and thank Allah for making it possible again for us to participate in another Jumu'ah Salah. May Allah accept our Jumu'ah prayer and grant us His mercy and forgiveness. As the brother is coming around with the box, please donate generously because it does help to offset the cost of our operating expenses. Again, I ask, please turn off your cell phones before the Salah starts because it is an inconvenience and it is a distraction for the khatib when he will be doing his presentation. Today also we make dua for Sister Amina, who's passed away earlier this week. The janazah was held yesterday here at this masjid. I pray that Allah grant her and all the deceased an easy reckoning on the day of judgment, and through His mercy admit them into Jannatul Firdaus. Tahajjud Salah, again we will do our monthly Tahajjud. It will be this Sunday morning at 4:15 a.m. And again, please bring your family and friends to enjoy the blessed night of worship and reflection, strengthen the connection with Allah, especially it will be the last Tahajjud before the month of Ramadan, which is expected to be on or around March 1st. Our khatib today will be no other than Imam Hassan Akbar. He is promoting a book which he just wrote and released. So I appeal to all of you, please, on your way out, just get a copy of this book. It's $15. If you don't have change, no worry, just give him the $20 because it's going for a good cause. Again, the book is titled Guided by the Star by Hassan Abdul Akbar, and you will see the book out there. I also just want to announce a happy birthday goes out to Insan Ali, who is the son of Brother Khairullah Ali, who is a prominent member of our masjid. And now ask Imam Hassan Akbar to take the order.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء. واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله عز وجل وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. ثم أما بعد. Indeed, we begin by praising Allah Azza wa Jal. We praise Allah and we thank Allah. We seek Allah's help and assistance. And we ask that Allah send His finest peace and blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, upon the members of his household, upon his illustrious companions, and upon all who strive to follow their example to the best of their abilities. Indeed, the best of speech is the book of Allah, Al-Quran, and the best of guidance is the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the most evil of matters are the religious innovations and the religious practices. For indeed, every single innovation is a going astray, and all of it leads nowhere, except that it will earn an individual the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My dear brothers and sisters, I remind you with the ayah, O you who believe, fear your Lord Allah in the matters in which He should be feared. And those are in all matters. And do not die except in full and complete submission in Islam. Do not die except as a Muslim. For whosoever is resurrected on the day of judgment, believing in a God other than Allah or along with Allah, will certainly be from among the people who lose on Judgment Day. Woe to those who are resurrected, naked and uncircumcised, as we all will be, believing in a prophet or messenger after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For they too will be from among the people who lose on the day of judgment. Woe to those, my dear brothers and sisters, who are resurrected on a day in which there is no doubt will come, believing in a book of wahi and revelation after the Quran. For indeed, whosoever believes this will also be from among the people who lose on the day of judgment, and woe to those who lose on that day, for after it there is no victory. My dear brothers and sisters, indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us to see another Jumu'ah. And indeed, the month of Ramadan is extremely close. And although this khutbah is not a khutbah about Ramadan or preparing for Ramadan, it should be said that not a single individual in here should take for granted that we are in the shade of Ramadan, that Ramadan is a few weeks away, and think for a moment that we are guaranteed to enter into it. For wallahi, I swear by Allah, we will continue to bury people up until the night before Ramadan. And as the brother made in the announcement, as janazah was just performed, and I'm sure the family or that individual thought perhaps they would be able to reach Ramadan. But the qadr of Allah took its course. So not a single one of us, for a moment, should think or wonder if we are going to enter Ramadan. Let those focus on attending to that issue, and everyone focus on the khutbah. We should not allow ourselves to believe or to think for a moment that it is possible for us to enter Ramadan just because we are here. So let us ask Allah sincerely on this day and every day leading up to the month of Ramadan, Allahumma balighna Ramadan. Oh Allah, allow us and grant us the life to enter into Ramadan so that we may fast His days and pray His nights, so that we may recite the Quran in the month, and so that we may ultimately be forgiven in the month. What I want to begin this khutbah with is a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this hadith is reported upon the authority of the illustrious companion Tamim ad-Dari radiyallahu anhu wa ardahu. He mentions that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا يبلغن هذا الأمر ما بلغ الليل والنهار. That indeed, this affair of ours will reach anywhere the night or the day touches. This affair of ours, this deen, al-Islam, will reach anywhere on the earth that the night or the day touches. What does that mean? It means that Islam will spread across the globe. He continued, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, وَلَا يَتْرُكُ اللَّهَ بَيْتَ مَدَرٍ وَلَا وَبَرٍ إِلَّا أَدْخَلَهُ اللَّهَ هَذَا الدِّينِ. And there is not a single house nor residence, a single town or village, except that Allah will cause this religion to enter into it. بِعِزِّ عَزِيزٍ أَوْ بِظُلِّ ذَلِيلٍ. As a result of this religion entering into it, those who are honorable will be honored, and those who are disgraceful will be disgraced. The Prophet ﷺ tells us in this hadith that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that will cause Islam to spread across the globe. The Prophet ﷺ told us in this hadith that it is because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Islam will enter into every city and every town and every home and every residence. My dear brothers and sisters, do we understand this? And are we acting upon it? You find that there are certain things happening in the Muslim world today that is giving the Muslim hope. For example, we see that Syria has been liberated, and we are happy to see the people enjoy their freedom and to see this tyrannical regime to be removed. We see as well that the bloodshed has ceased in the land of Palestine, and that our brothers and sisters in Gaza are able to move about and are trying to reestablish themselves in a place in which there isn't much to build. However, previously, the Ummah was also happy when we saw in Egypt the rise of a president that was a hafiz of the Quran and who showed hope. And as we look through the annals of history, we find that there are moments where leaders arise to the occasion to stand up for Islam, to stand up for truth, to stand against tyranny. Even if we are to look back in the annals of history, such as the great freedom fighters, Omar al-Mukhtar, of Libya who fought against colonization. Or in Africa as well, we have Amadou Bamba and other great individuals who fought and who resisted colonization. Or even in the land of Malaysia, where I recently was and just returned yesterday after a month of travel being in that land. They have their great hero, Mat Kilau, who fought against colonization and who fought to establish his religion, and so that his deen and his village wouldn't be lost. You find that throughout history there are many names that we can call. However, there are two problems that usually occurs. And this khutbah is to warn against these two problems so that we may have a proper relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first of them is that you find that when these freedom fighters are killed, are slain, are martyred, you find that the ummah loses hope. The ummah believes that there is no way forward. You find that there are people who will say, look at this freedom fighter or that freedom fighter. Look at this figure or that figure. They're imprisoned at this point. Or they are going to be executed. Or they have been killed. What is the point of it all? My dear brothers and sisters, who told you to place your faith in these individuals? When did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala command us to place our faith in individuals? When did Allah or His Messenger tell us that the victory of Islam will come at the hand of regular people? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us in the Quran, كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَأَغْلِبَنَّ أَنَا وَرُسُلِي. Indeed, I have already decreed victory for myself and for my messengers. This religion will be victorious. It has already been decreed over 1400 years ago. There is not a single person that is going to rise up and give this religion victory upon his own hands. No, Allah has already decreed that this religion will be victorious. Allah tells us in the Quran as well, هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا. It is He, Allah, who has sent His messenger with the religion of truth, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this religion will supersede and surpass and will conquer and will overcome every other way of life. And Allah is enough of a witness to this. Perhaps you and I may see the victory in Islam rise or fall across our small, insignificant lifetimes. 60, 70, 80 years. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum. He is the ever-living. And Allah will see it, that it will occur. That this religion will dominate the earth, will touch everywhere the night touches, will reach everywhere the day reaches, and will enter every single home and residence. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that will make that happen. When we see victory happening in the ummah, yes, we should be celebratory. Yes, we should be happy. But we should give that victory to who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should never allow ourselves to be caught emotionally with individuals, associating the victory with them. Why? Because when the enemies of Islam take them out, they seek to break our backs and our will. But when we've attached ourselves to them, they succeed. But when it doesn't matter who they assassinate or who they imprison, because we as a Muslim community understand that the victory will come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they cannot do anything to us to remove our spirit and our desire to make La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You find as well that there are those who make a similar mistake when it comes to their religious practice and religious beliefs. There are those who attach their iman and their faith to Islamic personalities, scholars, du'at, and da'is. You find that there are individuals who love particular people because of the way they can speak or because of the way they can orate themselves, even though the Prophet ﷺ has said, Inna min al-bayani la sihra. Indeed, in eloquent speech, there is some magic in it. That people have the ability to be very eloquent with their words and to capture the audience. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, in eloquent speech, there is an aspect of magic to it. Yes, speech can enchant the people. But that does not mean that we attach our iman to da'is and du'at and different figures. Because when something happens with these individuals or when they fall from grace, or if they were to make a mistake, you find that there are those who will leave and abandon the religion because of the actions of individuals. There was a sister in Malaysia who was questioning whether the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ ever existed, and they asked me to sit and to talk with her. And I said to her directly, who was it that harmed you? What did an imam do to you in your past to make you take this position? And then she said, the imam used to do this and that. And so I found myself being strayed from the religion. People attaching themselves to personalities. Who told you to take this person or that person as an example? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلُ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Go to the people of knowledge if you don't know. Go to them for questions and answers. But Allah did not command us to take them as the example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in the Quran, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. And certainly in the messenger of Allah is that example that you are supposed to take. So it doesn't matter what we see, the du'at and the imams, whatever may come out about them of scandal, that shouldn't shake our iman in Allah and our belief in this Quran. Because we do not attach our belief and our faith to people and personalities. We attach our commitment and our faith to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to this deen al-Islam. My dear brothers and sisters, you find that even during the lifetime of the companions, there was a moment in which they made a similar mistake. During the Battle of Uhud, we are aware that the Prophet put the archers on top of the hill and he told them, do not leave this post. Even if you were to see the birds coming and picking at our carcasses, our dead body, do not leave this position. And even if you see us getting victory, do not leave this position until I give you the word. But of course, they saw that the Muslims were gaining victory on the battlefield and were chasing Quraysh and their confederates away. And then the dunya tempted them. Yes, they're human beings. Radiallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with them. They are companions, but they're human beings. And so they said to themselves, let us leave this position so that we can get some of the ghanima and some of the booties of war, so that we can gain something before we go back to Medina. And out of the 50 archers that were placed on that hill, only 10 remained in their place. And those 10 were all martyred. Because as soon as the 40 left, Khalid ibn Walid came around, obliterated them, and turned the tides. My dear brothers and sisters, in that moment, a rumor began to spread in the thick of war, in the thick of battle, that the Prophet Muhammad was slain and killed and martyred. Do you know what occurred immediately thereafter? Two groups of people arose. The first of them, companions. They lost hope. They dropped their weapons. They fled and they hid in the mountains. And some of them even ran all the way back to Medina. Radiallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with them. But the second group understood that it doesn't matter who the enemy removes, because this religion has been established by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the Lord of all that is created. One of the illustrious companions in that moment, his name was Talha ibn al-Dahdaf. And when he was informed that the Prophet ﷺ was killed, although he wasn't, and he saw that some of the companions began to lose hope because of this news, he said to them, if it is true that Muhammad ﷺ is killed, then know that Allah is al-Hayy and Allah never dies. So get up and fight for your religion. We do not stop pushing forward, brothers and sisters. We do not stop establishing masajid. We do not stop teaching our children the Quran because they take and they remove figures. We are serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they cannot stop Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they cannot stop the light of Allah, and they cannot stop the guidance of Allah. And even if they were to imprison every single one of us, even if they were to eliminate every single one of us, and only one Muslim remained, in the words of Abdullah bin Mas'ud, radiyallahu anhu, أَنْتَ الْجَمَاعَةِ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ وَحْدَكَ. Then know that you are the jama'ah, even if you are alone. Even if you are only one left, you are the jama'ah. My dear brothers and sisters, what can our enemies do to us? Nothing. Only what we allow them to do to us. We should never allow them to break our backs, to break our faith, to make us lose hope, or to make us grieve. But rather, we should place our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and know that indeed Allah will grant us victory as long as we turn to Him in obedience. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. الحمد لله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد أما بعد. I mentioned to you that it is important for us as Muslims to make sure that we don't attach our faith and spirituality to political or religious figures. And it is also important for us as Muslims to make sure that we do not attribute the victory and the spread of Islam to political people, figures, and personalities. That we make sure that we connect our heart to who? Allah Jalla wa Ala. Allah alone. Allah alone. You find that Umar bin al-Khattab, he understood this. When Umar became the Khalifa, one of the first immediate actions that he did was to remove Khalid ibn Walid from being the general of the Muslim army. Why would Umar ibn al-Khattab do this? Did you know that he removed him? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, when he became the Khalifa, he didn't change anyone the Prophet put. Whoever the Prophet put as governor or general or whatever, he never changed any of them. But when Umar became the Khalifa, he immediately fired Khalid ibn Walid, radiallahu anhu. Do you know why? My dear brothers and sisters, Umar bin al-Khattab wrote a letter to his governors. And he said, effective immediately, day one, just as our president is doing executive orders, day one, Khalid is fired. He is replaced by Abu Ubaidah bin al-Jarrah, radiallahu anhu. Why? Not because I am disappointed in him. He has never lost a battle in his life. When he wasn't a Muslim, he won every battle. When he became a Muslim, he won every battle. He was known as the sword of Allah. He never lost. So why would you move him? Umar bin al-Khattab, he said, I am moving him because he's becoming a fitna to the ummah. I am removing him from his position to remind them that it is Allah that gives victory, not Khalid. And that's the point of this whole khutbah. Even Umar understood that people began to attribute victory to Khalid. Oh, Khalid's here, we're going to win. Khalid is leading, we're going to win. Anyone else leads, I'm not comfortable going. I don't want to go and fight. Khalid, oh, we're going to win. No. Umar said he's becoming a fitna. And I wanted to remind them, the ummah, the Muslim, the companions, that it is not Khalid that gives victory, that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that gives the victory. And he sacked Khalid and put Abu Ubaidah bin al-Jarrah to lead. And what happened under the 12 years of Umar's leadership? The Persian Empire, no more, defeated. Not with Khalid being the leader. What happened under Umar's leadership? The Roman Empire pushed out of Arabia, pushed out of Egypt, pushed out of the land of Palestine. Not under Khalid's leadership, but under the leadership of Abu Ubaidah bin al-Jarrah. There is a lesson in this, my dear brothers and sisters. And the lesson is that we must always make sure that we attribute every single good or victory or success that we have to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and no one else. Because when we begin to make the mistake of attributing victory to personalities and figures, we allow ourselves to be put in a position where our enemies can remove people and break our hearts and break our backs and break our determination. But regardless of what is happening in Palestine, regardless of the over 2 million Uyghurs that are imprisoned in China, regardless of what is happening in Kashmir, regardless of what is happening in all of the world, regardless of what is happening in Sudan, we know this religion and this affair, as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated, لا يبلغن هذا الأمر ما بلغ الليل والنهار ولا يترك الله بيت مدر ولا وبر إلا أدخله الله هذا الدين بعز عزيز وبذل ذليل. I end with the hadith that I opened with. As the Prophet ﷺ, he said, indeed, this affair of ours, al-Islam, will go across and will touch and will spread to every place the night touches and to every place the day touches. And there is not a single home and there is not a single residence except that Islam will enter into it. Except that Islam will enter into it. بِعِزِّ عَزِيزٍ. Allah will honor those who are honorable with Islam. وَبِذُلِّ ذَلِيلٍ. And Allah will disgrace those who are disgraceful with Islam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us increased understanding. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to let us attribute every single victory to Allah and Allah alone. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase the love and affection that we have for one another. We ask Allah to forgive our brothers and sisters who have passed away. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant our brothers and sisters in the land of Palestine victory and liberty from their oppressors. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا إننا آمنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وقنا عذاب النار. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر